Hello again, everyone. Mary Rose here at Stitch Bliss Corner on the 29th of April 2022. I hope this video finds you all coping okay and getting on with each 24 hours as it comes along. That's usually what I do anyway. You just kind of think, well, that's 24 hours I got through. And there's another 24 waiting for me. So I thought that I might start this video off with a little bit of a joke. Well, it's not a joke. It's just something my daughter sent me. And she's got a rescue dog that she and her husband have had for quite a while now. And he's a real little character. He's like a bear. And his name is Gus. And she sent me a little, it's like to gauge what mood you're in, put it that way. You'll see what I mean in a minute. I'll just get it ready here to show you. And when I've shown you these, I'll get Harlequin to insert into the video each frame that she sent me. So that you can have a look at it. And maybe you could tell me what mood you're in when you have a look at it. Now, it says, which Gus are you today? And here he is on here. It's not great to see here, but hopefully when Harlequin puts it up, you'll be able to see it better. Wait till I just do number one. I'll make that a bit bigger if I can. Oh, there he is at number one. It's a bit hard to see him. And then number two. I don't know if you ever heard of Lon Chaney. He was an actor in the 1930s, I think, and 40s. But he was called the Man of 1,000 Faces, and I think this is the Dog of 1,000 Faces. There's number three. Then number four. He looks like he's chill there. But don't worry about not being able to see these properly. You'll be able to see them, as I say, shortly. There he is, looking a little bit dreamy. I said to my daughter, that's what I look like when I go into the kitchen to start cooking. And number seven. Oh, it's hard to see there, but he looks like Dracula. He's got his two teeth sticking out. That's a bit better there. And then the final one, number 9. And I said to my daughter, that's what I look like after I finish cooking. That sense of victory. Anyway, so we'll go to those pictures now. He's a character, that's for sure. Lovely, lovely little dog. He really is. And brings a lot of joy to all of us. So I just thought I'd start off with that one. Now, I suppose from the sublime... Oh, no, it goes from the sublime to the ridiculous. But we're going from the ridiculous to the sublime. And that's my finish on Minister. I have a lot of Flosstubers to thank for giving me the tenacity to get through this, because it really was a classic case of wanting something to be done, but at the same time knowing the kilometres or miles of stitching that was required to actually get that completed. And I saw a little saying the other day. It was, you can't complain about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. And I thought, that's pretty much very accurate. Anyway, let me get on. I just seem to sort of drift off into these little, what do you call them, homilies. So I'll get the minister out now and just show him to you finally. Now, Harlequin did me a perfect template. It was perfect. And I did go a little bit astray, and I will show you the video now. Will I do that now? Yeah, I think I'll put the video in now, just to show you the stages of stitching. Not too many because they're very similar, and also just what I had to say about the piece when I had the iPad hovering over it. It's got a few shadows in it, and there are a few little pieces of cotton on there too that will of course come off once we send it in for framing. And I also did a video of Across the Divide, just a very quick one. So after Minister, if you'll just bear with me to see the Across the Divide, just that little bit of video, and then back to me. So, well, here is the finish of the Skating Minister. I'm just holding this iPad up pretty high at the moment so that you can see the whole thing. And then I'm going to lower it down so that you can see it a bit more closely. Not that you haven't seen him many times over the month that I've been stitching him. Yes. The joys of 28 count, 1/1. Still got a little bit more to do. Just have to go over with the magnifying glass to make sure that I haven't missed any. Well, I think I have missed a few little stitches here and there. But some of them, they look as though they're missed, you know, but it just happened to be a lighter thread that was in there for the overall effect. I think his face is my most favourite part. Anyway, not to worry, it'll all be sorted. Harlequin's oval, as you can see, is slightly distorted. It was perfect. I think I messed around here a little bit, but if I need to put anything extra just there, I can do that for framing, but we will see. So I'll just leave it at that, and I'll look at those skating boots. I did think about highlighting a little bit of the skate here, just with some thread, but I thought I don't think it would work. So I changed my mind there. Anyway, he'll be going off for framing, and you'll be able to see what he looks like after that. Just thought I'd show you across the divide again, because it is going to be going to the framer, and I thought you might just like to see, let's just see it again, why not? It was a very enjoyable stitch, inspired by a wedding photo of Harlequin and I. And I just love those horses just going along with the couple there, just in the peaceful surrounds. And it just seems to embody a lot about a relationship and how it goes on when this life's journey is over. There's another journey coming in the next world. So I just thought I would show that to you. And well, I'm sorry if I made you a bit giddy with the moving it round, but I was just trying to get the focus in there. There's a bit of shadow. It's just this lighting is a bit better, because when I show my pieces on the video, the lights in my stitchy room are so bright that it shows all my stitching all puckered up, which it doesn't look like that in just a milder natural light. Okay. Right. Now then, here he is. The joys of 28 count 1/1. I think the effect is wonderful. You know, I mean, it really is good. But it does take a lot of determination. You know, it's like being on a reducing in a diet, you know, and you have to weigh out. People who are serious about losing weight, you know, they count out their portions and everything to make sure they're not giving themselves too much. And they have, you know, they really have to work hard to do it. And I think that's the same with anything that you really want. You've just got to put the effort in. That's non-negotiable. You just got to do it. And no one's going to turn up and say, oh, look, I'll do this all for you. And if they did, you wouldn't have the satisfaction then, would you? Because it wouldn't be yours. Anyway, here we go. There he is. Just delighted with him. I think he's wonderful. I think there's nothing more I can say really about him. I was thinking, as I said in the video, of picking out his skate a little bit more so you could see the skate a bit better. But then I thought, well, respect the artist. It's very likely that the artist just wanted the misty, foggy look. Because if you're skating on a lake and it's so cold that it's iced over, chances are there was ice sort of a foggy effect over the water anyway when he was skating. So yes, there he is finished, and I'm just so happy with him. Well, it's quite obvious I'm happy with him. Now, this 28 count, there's something else I wanted to mention about this fabric. Apart from the fact that it is, as fabrics go for stitching on, it is quite fragile, and it divides up very easily, which I think I showed before. But for people who haven't seen that video, I'll just see if I can show you how easy it is to separate the threads. And it frays like the dickens, it really does. The top was okay. I think it's more for some reason at the bottom, and I had to re-stitch this after I finished him because it was fraying so badly down the bottom there. So yeah, that is something. And see, I haven't taken my grids out. As I mentioned before, I used this woolen thread for gridding on the 28 count, because if I tried to use my usual cotton, it would slip underneath the thread. And I did find that with some of the actual stitching when I was doing the crosses. I'd do one across and it would just slip underneath the thread. So that is a problem. It doesn't happen that often, but it's often enough to be a bit annoying, you know, when you've already done your cross and then you have to do it again because it's slipped underneath the thread. So, but apart from that, I think the detail on the face is well worth the 28 count. But if you're ever stitching full coverage, I believe that 18 count is the best. And the only exception to that, I would say, would be if you were not wanting fine detail in the face, if you were happy for the 18 count detail, which is what I'm doing for the other full coverage that I'm working, well, I'll get back to anyway. There are faces in that, but I'm just going with the 18 count because it really does give good detail in the face anyway. It's just I wanted really fine for this one. I think it was just one of those pieces that I couldn't sort of compromise on. Having said that, this is the last 28 count 1/1 that I will be doing, unless it's a tiny little miniature, because it just takes too long, and it just takes it out of you in the nicest way. So he'll be off to the framer, and next time you see him, he'll be in all his glory in his frame. So that's Skating Minister. Right, now then. And as I did say, with Harlequin's beautiful template, I did go off the rails a little bit. It wasn't quite the same oval, but I think I've done enough stitching for the framer to be able to fit him in okay. And if for some reason there's a little bit of a gap, well, I'll just have to do some more stitching, but I think I've judged it okay. So we'll fingers crossed anyway for that one. Now then, I thought that after I finished Harlequin, bless his heart. No, I haven't finished Harlequin. Yeah, after I finished the Skating Minister, I then went on to Dimensions, just for a little bit of a break before I tackle the full coverage again. So here we go. I suppose I should really have, before I move on, I should just mention that that was the reduced palette I used for the background of Skating Minister, because I didn't need all the colours, so I just put a new lot on a new palette just to make it quicker, you know, easily to get your threads. And just, the artist was Henry Raeburn, late 1700s, and the minister was skating on Duddingston Loch. So that's that final bit, and we'll just go on now to this Dimensions that I decided to do. And it's a fairly quick stitch, actually. It's this one, which I've been threatening to stitch for quite some time, Village Canal, because there's something about the canals, you know, I think I have mentioned before that my brother-in-law's sister and I and Harlequin when we were in the UK. Harlequin and I lived there in Leeds for about 5 years and absolutely loved it. We came home just for the family, actually. Otherwise we'd probably still be there. But yeah, we went on this wonderful holiday in September and the weather was perfect, and we went on a barge and went up and down the canals, and my sister and I did the locks, and my husband and brother-in-law steered the barge, which was fine by us because, you know, I don't mind having equal rights and everything, but when it comes to steering a rather large, heavy boat through a very narrow waterway, I think it's best left to somebody who wants to be doing it. So I should have given Harlequin a captain's hat, really, and they could have shared it together. But, well, anyway, whatever. So I'm just very chatty today, sorry. So anyway, this is what I decided to stitch on, and I thought I might just give a few handy hints about dimensions, which I've done before, but maybe you're only watching for the first time and you're a bit curious about dimensions kits. Now, dimensions, they're pretty handy because they give you all that is required in the kit. My only complaint about them really is that they don't always give you enough threads for what they're asking you to use, but most people get round that because it's not as though it's a huge deficit. It's just a bit annoying. But, you know, I mean, having said that, they've put all this black in, and when I look at the actual picture, there's not a lot of black in there for the amount that they've put in. But anyway, that's what can happen. I suppose they just judge it as best they can. Now, when you get your dimensions palette, the actual threads are coming out from this side. If you can see there, wait till I turn it over. You can see where the threads have actually been attached there. And what I do is I get a hole punch, and I punch a hole in the other side, and then I put the threads over that side, and they're sort of doubled over there. I fold them and loop them through, and it's very easy to pull a thread out. And this helps too, because naturally enough, if you leave it on this side, this length of thread is twice as long, so it's very ungainly. Whereas when you thread it through and loop it through on this side, it's a lot easier to handle the threads. So that's another reason why I do that with my dimensions. And there's the other colour that came with it, the colours. So that's one hint to do that. Another thing is to print out a chart, because the dimensions charts, well, this one isn't too bad actually, it's a good size, but the petite ones are pretty small. Now, I just wanted to say something about how it can be awkward. Now, I just don't want to show too much of this chart, but I just want to point something out. Maybe I should do it on the printout, because then I'm not folding the chart up. So not until I just get the... Yeah. Show you a little bit of this. Now, if you can see here, you've got your line of 10 in your, you have your 10 up, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I'll put a little pointer here. Right. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Then you've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 across there. So that is your actual box of 10 up and 10 down. But if you're not paying attention, you can easily mistake this line for the line of 10 there. And before you know it, you've put 2 hearts here and 2 stars or 3 stars there. And if you haven't gridded, you're absolutely you won't know where you are. So gridding is so good for that, because it pulls you up straight, within a few stitches. You think, oh, hang on, that's not lining up. So what I do as well is, when I get my dimensions kit, I always go over the lines, the grid line. I do 2 copies, and I stick it together I haven't stuck this one together fully because I'm just using this for the outlines, so for after I finish stitching, so it doesn't really need to be all together. But I do a copy, and this is the one I'm using. Just to show you the bottom part. And can you see, I have picked out in pen, I've gone over in felt tip all the lines of 10 across and down. So there's absolutely no mistake. If you do that, if you go over with a ruler, but I would only do that if I did a copy of the original one. You do 2 copies. The first one, you stick it all together so that it's all one chart, and then you can do your grid lines. Even if you're not going to be gridding your actual fabric. But if you've got your grid lines in on your chart, and then the other chart, leave it so that you can see where the outlines are, or you can just look off your original chart. So that's my tip there. Now the other tip I have about dimensions, let's pop that over there, is when you've got your chart that tells you what threads to use and what symbol and everything, when there's a blended thread, which you've got a blended thread there, what I usually do, there's usually a bit left over or whatever, I just put it through and sit it next to the spot so that next time I've got it all ready to go. And if I have any threads left over, I just put them actually on the chart like that. That's really my hint. So I don't think I'll show you the stages yet because I've only been stitching for 3 days. But you can see, I'll just show you now, stitching for 3 days, but you get quite a bit of progress. Well, you do if you're me and you're gridding anyway. And there's the progress. I always put something in the top to show what the top is when I'm first setting out, because there's nothing worse than not knowing where you are. So, but I can take that off now, of course. But that reminds me a little bit of Kitty Stitches. She's doing a huge cross stitch of a village, and she calls it Railway Village sometimes. That's not the name of it, but it keeps coming into her head. But it's similar colours to the one she's doing at the moment. So anyway, that's that one. And the other thing I wanted to let you know, was I got Harlequin to get this for me. And it's the seagulls that I like the best. I mean, I do like lighthouses, and I have stitched some. I don't know when I'll be doing that one, but I do love those birds. Most likely I'll start at the bottom and work up. Anyway, Henry Peterson, 2020, Gull Point Lighthouse. I remember when I was reading Anne of Green Gables, and she wanted to be a gull at one stage. She wanted to be a gull, and then she wanted to, spend the night in an apple tree or something with all the blossoms and all this. It's just amazing, that story. Never tire of it. Okay, now, last thing. I'm seriously considering doing Maynia, and I better decide because it's only a day away. But if I do decide to do it, I did ask Harlequin, I said, because he got me some petites, so I got him to pick one out. And he did, so I'll show that to you in a minute. And I was thinking I could do that, just give you I don't know whether to do, maybe on the 1st of April 1st of April. Yes, do Maynia on the 1st of April. What a good idea. Just turn time back. Sorry. May the 1st. I might just come and... I don't know whether to do... do you know, indecisiveness is not good for the soul. I think what I'll do is I'll show it to you now, and then a week into Maynia, I will show you my progress. I think that's probably better. So, because you've already seen me anyway recently, so, I mean, don't want to overdose you. So, here we are. This is the one he picked out. Bayside Cottage. A little petite. And I thought I'll just do that for the month of May to get it done. Now, normally, I would... Who's the artist there? Kate Beetle. Now, normally I would get a bigger piece of fabric because they're, very small, what they give you. But I thought, no, just use what you're given this time, just for the fun of it. So I've already marked the top there with a T. And there's my gridding, ready to go. I'll have to trim the sides there. I just like to have plenty of thread there in case I've got a grid in the wrong spot or something like that. I can just undo it. So that's what I'll be making sure you get the right orientation when you're starting anything. Always make sure that you're in the right direction. You don't want to be starting this way and shortchanging yourself some water or house. So just make sure you've got your orientation correct. And that does sound obvious, but it's amazing. You can only just be not thinking, and you can end up, especially if you're freelancing and just stitching, just without... Well, I don't like to keep mentioning gridding because I think people must think I'm obsessed with it. But if you're not doing that, you certainly do need to make sure your orientation is correct. But having said that, I have gridded and had the gridding wrong because I had the orientation wrong. I did do that once, so I'm always extra careful. So anyway, there's the fabric ready to go. I've got the chart there. The picture there. The chart has just descended onto the floor, but it doesn't really matter because I wouldn't be showing you that anyway. I'll get Harlequin to print me a chart out so I can mark it off. Here's my palette. Well, you can see there how long the threads are when it comes and how much easier it is to handle when they're like that, as opposed to that. So, right, I think I've laboured that point long enough. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing for Maynia. I think I will do it because I did ask Harlequin to pick one out. I mean, it's a bit rude to ask someone to pick something out for you and then just say, oh, you know, I've decided not to bother. That's not very nice, is it? But I am looking forward to having that done because, after all, I did pick it out in the first place, you know, before Harlequin clapped eyes on it. So there you go. Now, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I have to tell you. So I'll have a look at I have got a list here. No, I think I've done everything. I just hope that, as I said at the start of the video, that you're all going along okay and you're stitching when you can. Don't let it threaten your relationship. You know how it can be. I think, you know, it's good to have a pastime that you really enjoy. But it is important to get life's balance in there. Especially if you're sitting for hours on end as well, it's really not good for your body. You do need to get up and about and move around a bit and get the circulation going. So, you know, even though you're tempted to just keep going, it's good to get it and move around for a while. But other than that, you know, things are just rolling along in this part of the world here. People have mentioned in comments about the floods that we had. They seem to have abated now, but for the areas that did have flooding, you know, it's very difficult because Australia is the driest continent in the world, as far as I know anyway. I think that's correct. And so people aren't used to being flooded out. I mean, you know, it's either dry as anything or it's bucketing, you know, or it's flooding you out, you know. It's a very harsh country. You know, it has its beauty and everything, but it also can be quite cruel to its inhabitants, I think. You know, people out in the bush, as they call it, out in the countryside, they've either got drought or they've got flooding. But of course they probably love the contrasts in, you know, they wouldn't want to live anywhere else. They, you know, love the simple life, and just as in, I should imagine, America, you know, it's got its, well, I mention America because I think most of the people who watch me are in the United States, and it always fascinates me, the diverse landscapes of America, that you can have the deserts in Nevada and you can have the green, the verdant land in other parts, and all the national parks you have and the lakes and mountains, and, you know, I mean, you're spoiled for choice. I mean, there's just so much there. And then you have, you know, Great Britain that's so green, and Ireland that's even greener, you know. Each country has its beauty and its hazards, I guess. Because I suppose in America you have the fires in California and that sort of thing. Yeah. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there. And I'll probably see you in a week or so. I'll take a shot every day, a still, of my progress with the stitching for Maynia. And it'll be interesting to see how fast I can go, whether I can finish it before the end of the month. You never know. But if I do, it won't be because I've been sitting there for hours doing it, I don't think. Because, you know, you need to practice what you preach, don't you? It's no use sitting here waxing lyrical about how, oh yes, you should get up and leave your stitching for a while and walk around the block and do this and do that, if I'm not doing the same thing. Anyway, God bless all of you, and I shall see you next time. Bye for now.